Just waiting for Richard to kick us off. He's going to be back in a sec.
Hey,
Hey
good.
guys, how you going?
Richard, yeah, good.
Hey
Thanks.
Brennan, thanks for turning on your camera there, mate. I appreciate it. And Di, good on you. Good to see you there.
I
Um, and Andre
got
Ransom,
yeah.
hello.
Hello.
Jake Dale, great to see you. And folks, if you can just turn on your cameras, that would be awesome. And that way we can just sort of see your smiling faces.
Move up a bit, guys.
You need to see your face.
Oh, move up, down, I don't know. There's several of us here.
Oh, fantastic. That's great. No, that's really good. So look, just while we're waiting for a few people to still join us, what we'll do is fundamentally just wait for them to come in and away we go. So that's all fine. So yeah, look, but basically, good on you for joining us today. Um, the the idea for this webinar, it actually came out of a series of conversations that we have with builders, and I know that there are both builders and architects on the call. So, and we might just ask you to mute your microphone if you could, guys. Um, so basically, in the conversations that we have with builders, one of the common things that we see is that builders need to increase their prices, but it can be a real challenge not being able to do it all the time. So people have a very genuine fear of losing jobs if they increase their margins. But the truth is, in order for a builder to have a successful business and a lifestyle that will actually work for them, you need to actually have decent margins. So it's about actually achieving that. So in the conversations and the research interviews that we've done with builders, there are some common things that we tend to see. So the first is that most builders believe that they need to sacrifice lifestyle for their security. So in other words, there's no they're competing. They're things that you can't have one without the other. And so when it comes to spending time with family or having a lifestyle that you want, um, many builders believe that the only way that they can achieve a successful outcome is to work their butts off at a very, very competitive price. And today's session is really about making sure that you don't need to do that. We want to show you ways that you can step out of that, and not get too heavily involved in that as an approach, because that's not a plan. That's a stressful lifestyle that's mapped out there. Um, the next thing is, quite validly, people say, I'm scared I'm going to lose jobs if I put up my prices. So the what we want to do today is show you the ways and the techniques that you can actually go ahead and make sure that you can increase your prices in ways that clients actually go, hey, no, this guy's worth it. This person's worth doing what they are spending a little bit more on, because they are able to deliver exactly what I need. So we're going to show you how you can do that. And the 12 tips are all expert tips, by the way. And everybody on the call or everybody presenting on the call is an expert. And so we'll go through those one by one. But the other thing that I think what happens with a lot of builders, when we talk with builders about the way they charge, they will often talk about having to try and set their pricing so that they don't lose jobs, and so therefore they undercharge. And this is particularly relevant with new builders, but it's also the way that some builders increase their prices. They'll put them up a little bit, and then somebody will say, "Oh no, that's too much for us," and so they'll recoil. And I don't know if you remember when I was a kid. The reason I've got a snail there is that I used to sometimes you'd touch the snail's antennas, and the antennas would recoil, and the snail would pull away. And sometimes builders are a little bit like that. I know that I did that when I first started building, is that you would start increasing your prices, but you'd get knocked back on a few jobs, and so you'd recoil your pricing. And we don't want to do that. It's not the way. We're actually going to show you a way that's strategic, that steps you forward in a way that positions you to charge those healthier margins that will actually give you a lifestyle. Um, a lot of builders also feel fairly unsure about their financial future. So, um, one of the things that we really noticed was that a lot of builders, if you ask them to think forward 5, 10 years, they don't necessarily know where they're going to be going. And so, having being able to forecast your margins and manage your margins going forward, it means that you can actually foresee what your future wealth is going to be like. So that's really important. We all became business owners so that we could actually take control of our destiny. And so doing this is really, really important. And using margins is one of the key levers for doing that. The next thing that we've got there, oh, there we are. A lot of builders would talk about feeling that they're in a race to the bottom. So in other words, most builders will often say, "Oh, I can't increase my prices because the competitors will win the jobs." If you're a builder and you're in the situation whereby you feel like your pricing is being dictated to you by what your competitors are doing, it's time to change the game. You need to change the way that you're approaching things, because working on that race to the bottom approach whereby you're constantly trying to reduce numbers and reduce pricing, it's not going to help you. It's not going to give you a future that you want to achieve. All right. So that's basically the key outline and where this has all sort of come from. I'm just going to show you now who's going to be on the call. So first we've got Toby Loft from BuiltGrid, and now Toby has, I reckon Toby's probably been involved in the procurement of hundreds of millions of residential jobs. Is that a fair thing to say, Toby? Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, mate. That would be fair to say, yes.
No, that's good. Well, look, thanks for coming on the call. The key thing is that Toby's able to step us through not just procurement, but the way that systems can operate in your business to actually improve the outcomes for you. The next we've got Helena Tivy from the Arrow Agency. Are you there, Helena?
I'm over here.
Oh, good on you. And Helena, you've correct me if I'm wrong, but you've probably been involved in the marketing of what, 100 odd million of builders projects. Is that a
Yeah.
fair thing to say? Yep.
Yeah. We've made a lot of builders a lot of money. Let's just say that.
That's good stuff.
Which is what we're here to do.
Spot on. Fantastic. And Kurt Hegertweiler from Builders Coach. Now, Kurt, I think, has been coaching builders for what, 20 odd years, Kurt? Are you there?
Yes, I am. Thanks for having me, Richard. 21 years, yeah.
21 years.
2004. Yeah.
Awesome. No, that's great, mate. So look, so the wonderful thing about this is that everybody on the call that's presenting, each one is bringing a wealth of experience and expertise to the party. So that's what we want. Just a little bit on myself, former builder. I've interviewed over 1,000 builders and probably about over a couple of hundred architects about the way that they engage. And so I'll be basically sharing about the ways that you can engage as a builder with that process and to optimize the outcomes for the way that you work. So first cab off the rank is going to be Kurt, and he's going to step you through basically a few slides here. So over to you, Kurt.
Thank you, Richard. And thank you everyone for jumping on the call. And if you're watching the recording as well, the fact that you're looking for a solution to be able to raise your margins, like, good on you, man. Like, I just want to start by saying it's not necessarily an easy thing to do to get your margin up for a number of reasons. Well, firstly, you can't just do it. You can't just go, well, I'm just going to get my numbers up. It's the same with charging for quotes, and I'm the guy that leads the charge, or have been for many years, with charging for a quote. You need a strategy, all right? You need to have a game plan for how you're going to do it, because if you just start charging, people are going to say, but these other guys are doing them for free, and why are you charging? I'm not going to pay you. So you really need to educate the client or the prospect on why you're doing it. And it's the same with getting your margins up. You need to really, it starts with differentiating yourself, like it says on the slide. And at its core, it's about adding value. Okay. The first principles of wealth creation are about adding value. So the best way to do that is to become a specialist first and foremost. So you could do renovations, extensions, and then
through by text. And
ideally what you want to do is take it one step further. So specialize in something, be the specialist, not a generalist. Specialists generally earn more, make more money. And then you can take it further and layer it. So, you know, there's like a good example, and we'll get into this a little later, but would be like, you know, heritage homes with green technology, with smart technology. And then you become a layered specialist who can almost sort of sail out into a blue ocean again, which we'll touch on in a sec. But becoming a specialist, having that specialist mindset, knowing you can add more value in that space. So it's an inch wide, a mile deep. And once you've decided on that, then you can start unpacking some complexity. Okay, I'll give an example. I spoke to a builder recently who follows our sales process. It's an education-based sales process. There's 6 steps, starting with a questionnaire. Then there's an audition call, then a frequently asked questions PDF that goes out, then a capability statement or brochure and agenda, and then they turn up and ProCalc in there somewhere for the right candidate, and they turn up with a prelim agreement, cost analysis, or value management solution that's geared towards that client in their specialty. All right. When they turned up for that first site visit, the client was like, wow. They also, by the way, they had a quote template example, which just showed the client what they get when they pay for a quote and the level of complexity involved in making sure that they go through all the numbers and break it all down, and get the client's budget to match the quote. Okay. The client was like, hey, we met with another builder a couple of days ago, and they said, oh, this is quick and easy. He was showing them that, you know, they were early stage at concept. It's going to take 12 months before they can turn any soil. And to get you go through design and permits and everything else. This other guy said, oh, it's 3 months, easy. And he didn't ask them any questions. Okay, huge red flag. So the client was like, wow. And so there's a builder that's racing to the bottom, just trying to make everything quick and easy, not sharing any of the detail or the complexity. But if you do it properly, if you've got a strategy and you've got a niche and you understand your niche and you keep getting deeper into that groove in terms of your expertise and how you add value, then people will pay more. It's like anything. Like, if you look at a car analogy, when you get a Toyota next to a Mercedes-Benz and a BMW, you don't look at those cars and go, well, why is that one more expensive? You can see, with your own eyes, and if you drive it, you'll experience it. So be a specialist, add value within their specialty. Most builders don't realize the way to add value is through proactive communication. It's a huge area. Just having a system for proactively communicating. And, people will pay you more money for that. Okay. So have a game plan, position yourself. Let's move on to the next slide there, Richard.
Yep.
If we could. So position yourself as an advisor, charge for your time. So I want to make something very clear. Like so obviously you got the message in the first slide, be the specialist, right? Be the cardiologist, not the GP. Okay. And then have skills in that area. So again, if we go with that example of heritage homes, green technology, smart technology, and it's layered, you can have access to, you can understand the best materials, the best trades, the build process, the permits. Like there's a different application process for heritage homes to normal renos and custom builds, right? So you can build a dream team around that pre-construction process and the construction phase as well, that delivers a better product, a better result, better efficiencies, all that sort of thing. And then, you absolutely are going to charge accordingly for those expertise. But people are not paying, I want to make it very clear, people are not paying you for your time. All right. You do not ever, if we're going back to the charge of a quote conversation, you are not ever going to say to someone, I'll spend 40 hours quoting this house, so you got to pay me for that time. They do not give a shit about how much time you spend quoting. Why? Because most other builders are doing it for free. Most builders are doing it for free. So you cannot use that as a reason for them to pay you. Maybe 1 in 100 will, but they're very narcissistic when they're about to part with money. So they're thinking of themselves. So any reason why they pay you needs to relate to the benefit to them. Okay. So when it comes to a quote, it's easy. There's carnage out there. Price shock's a real thing. You pay me money so that we can get these numbers watertight and you don't become a statistic. That's what they're paying for. Okay, so it's important that you have that clear in your mind from a mindset perspective. Okay, that what it is they're paying for. There's a classic story, and Richard, you probably heard the story before. There's like an old school production plant, and one of the machines in the plant breaks down. So they call this expert in to fix it, and because none of the staff can fix it. So this guy comes in, he's an old expert, and he listens to the machine, he grabs a piece of chalk, and he marks an X on the one of the parts, and he says, replace this. They do that, and the machine works again. He sends his invoice through $10,000. And one of the factory owners like protests and says, hey, but it took you 5 minutes to mark up that little chalk mark. And the old expert replied, it was $1 for making the mark, and $9,999 for knowing where to put it. Okay, so that's the difference. So be the specialist that understands your specialty exceptionally well, including the pre-construction phase, all right, which is the cost analysis, value management, getting the right documentation within that specialty, because that's worth a hell of a lot of money. Why? Because of all the inefficiency. Okay, and inefficiency and delays and all the bullshit that goes on, the things that can go wrong, what could possibly go wrong, right, in construction, that costs a lot of time and money. And again, there's carnage out there. There's more pain out there now. Richard asked me, how long you been doing this for? 21 years. Price shock's always been a thing. I have never seen carnage and blood on the streets like there is now. And the bigger the problem, the bigger the opportunity. So really, there's never been a better time to position yourself as an expert. How are we going for time, Richard? I'm in a bubble, a time warp.
No worries. What I'll do,
Again, I'll
there we go. We're on the next one there now, mate. So
okay, perfect.
Yeah.
So create your own economy. The way to insulate yourself against market fluctuations, I always say, is through intelligent, integrated marketing systems using someone like Arrow, where it's a who not how scenario. Some of you older blokes might be going, like, I know everyone's on Instagram, whatever else. There's social media, there's email marketing systems that send out autoresponder sequences, blah blah blah. And how the hell am I going to figure all this out? You don't need to. Find someone who already has, outsource to them, and make sure it communicates directly to your market to your target market, right? Within your specialty. Marketing is just about communicating, and you need to have a lead nurture system that communicates to a group of people, an audience that ideally want to build in the next 2 or 3 years. Plus, you want to be able to pick the low-hanging fruit, the people that are ready to go now. But you need a marketing system that overbooks the flight, that creates more demand for you than you can supply. And then you have a sales process, like I touched on before, that helps you deselect and cherry pick the best jobs. So you've got control over your profit, workflow, cash flow. Okay, so really important. But again, you need to make that initial strategic decision on what your specialty is. Really, really important.
Kurt, I've just got a question here that's come up in the chat box from Andy. Can you explain more about different ways that builders can specialize in a particular niche? So I think what Andy's asking is about whether it needs to be geographic or the type of build or the various ways that you can segment it.
Absolutely. So you need to understand your local market. So to give you an example, we had a builder present or interviewed him at our event in Manly. He does heritage homes. He's in Melbourne. And that, by the way, is a great market. So ideally, when you choose a market, you want one that's staple. You need to know that there is a market there, that there's that type of work being done. How do you know if there's a market for heritage homes? With that example, you can check, you can use AI, or you can do a search through the local councils to see how many heritage home applications are going through council, because it's a different application process. So we had a builder in the room at our Manly event from the ACT who wanted to replicate what this other guy was doing. So we ran a check through ChatGPT to see how many applications, 150 to 180 a year in the ACT. And then not all of those go to build, but there's about 80 to 100. They needed 3 builds a year to be able to enter into to be able to make it a viable option. And we then check the competitors in that space, in their location, and there's 2 who specialize. And that's an indication that there is a market. It's also a market for more affluent people. So ideally, you want to target that sector of the market that has money, because they will always have money even in a downturn. Another good one is, I mentioned, layering, green technology, passive house. That's a big one. You can see there's a future. But yeah, you do need to look at it based on your location. Are you in a metro area, regional area? Use AI to do some research.
Oh, that's really good, mate. So I think that the key take out there is that as long as a builder specializes in the right in fertile soil, and they are mining fertile soil, then they're going to finish up being able to get a really good outcome. So specialization with the right market, with the right product, is a phenomenally powerful thing.
Yes, and you can look at markets that are sustainable, like the green technology. We're not going to have less of it. We're only going to have more. Smart technology is another one. So that's where you can layer. But renovations and extensions is a niche. I've got a guy that does renos, extensions, and then he does his own developments close to the airport, and then he specializes in soundproofing as well. And he's got a gun team that does that. And he used to be a real estate agent, so he knows the territory, and he's literally flipping houses while he's doing that work for people in that location, and he's dominating.
Awesome. All right, that's great, Kurt. And now, just also, guys, if you've got a question, just throw it in the chat box. You're quite welcome to throw in questions there. So Andy threw in that question there for Kurt. So feel free to add questions as we go. We do want you to ask questions and cover off particular things. We want it to be interactive. So
Okay, and just
all
quickly, if
fine.
anyone's got a burning question, I'll love helping builders. You can email me. You can get me on my website or info@builderscoach.com.au if you've got a more detailed, complex, personal question that you want to send through, but we don't have time for it. Yeah.
Yeah, good on you, Kurt. Well done. All right. Next person we've got on is Helena. And Helena, over to you, just about marketing and growth.
Yeah, perfect. And it leads in quite nicely, actually, from what Kurt just said. And it's always a hard act to follow Kurt, because he's very knowledgeable in the industry. But I'd love to kind of take this opportunity to kind of build on, what we were kind of saying in regards to kind of niching it and layered niching. So first of all, who here has said yes to a project or a job that they know that they shouldn't have, and they did it anyway, and then it turned out to be a complete nightmare? We've all done it.
Yep, I
Builders that are
remember
builders that are oversubscribed are pretty much doing the exact opposite of that. So yeah, that's one thing to kind of keep in mind. So what it kind of looks like, if you want to sort of magnify that demand, it is about sort of flipping it on its head, so to speak, and being really crystal clear on your niche, which we've kind of already spoken about. And then beyond that, the layered niching. A good example of this as well that we see quite commonly is, the niche, primary niche being custom homes, for example. And then the secondary niche can even be a style of building, like a Hampton style or farmhouse style is very trending at the moment. That just really allows you to become like the go-to person for that particular type of home and that particular type of style, and it makes you very valuable and to your competitors. The other thing that you can implement, which I think Kurt already mentioned this as well, to kind of flip that, is the application-based sales process. So we see this work really well for a lot of builders. It pretty much is, going from your kind of chasing people up all the time to, if you would like to work with us, please answer these questions before. It really pre-qualifies people, so you're not going to end up in conversations with people that aren't really, that serious about proceeding. But it also kind of positions you in a great way to, just really be at the front foot of what you're offering to people. So that's another great thing, and I'll talk about that in the next slide about how to automate that as well. And then finally, oh no, you can still go back. We haven't got there yet.
Go back.
And then finally, yeah, marketing that is going to deliver more leads than you can handle. So really, you need to be investing in paid advertising. That's how you're going to get, once you've got a good niche and a good message, good creative, and everything like that, it's a great opportunity to put that out into an audience that doesn't know about you, doesn't know about you yet. So just for anyone that doesn't understand what that means, basically, when you post on your social media like Grid, or you send emails, you're putting that out to your existing audience. And what paid ads is when you're paying to have your content or your ad, your images, your brand in front of a new audience. And that's really how you're going to get, a higher volume of lead inquiry coming in and sort of filling up that pipeline, so you can start to be really selective with who you work with. So the kind of takeaway around oversubscribed and why, you want to become oversubscribed is because you're going to have more choice. You're going to have more choice of the projects you want to work on. You're going to have more control. And then, like we're trying to achieve here, you're going to be able to charge better margins. So basically, you're becoming the specialist and the go-to. I guess like the biggest pushback and what I kind of see a lot is that it is a leap of faith. Like, you do have to back yourself, but trust me in knowing that if you can deliver like an exceptional quality of what you're doing, and you've got good operations in which to deliver that, and there's demand on the front end, which Kurt mentioned before, you can do research to make sure that there is. We also do research in, search volume. We can look at how many people are searching for what you offer online in certain areas. Like there's things that you can do so you can more safely kind of back yourself in that area. But eventually you're going to get to a point where you're going to have to start saying no to the wrong type of work, so that you are opening yourself up to say yes to the right type of work.
Good stuff. All right.
So that was, this one is, yes, turning tire kickers into hot prospects magically. So obviously that's just talking about automation and how we can do this in an automated way, because it sounds like, oh, there's so much, we can be doing, but how do I have time to do all of this? But one of the biggest frustrations, I think, is people wasting time on price checkers. And so this is why you should be doing this, because if you can automate a way to kind of be having these conversations with people, you could get rid of anyone that's just price checking, and just know that when you eventually engage with a lead, they should be coming to you already kind of knowing, liking, and trusting you. So what we kind of tend to recommend in this space initially is to work on a good pre-qualification strategy. When you put an ad out, or even organic content, you need to drive people to make an action from that. So what do you want them to do? Do you want them to fill out a form? Do you want them to, go to your website? Like, decide what that journey looks like. And then when you're requesting information from them, you want to be asking them more than just their contact information. Find out whether the location, like what time frame, do they have plans, like whatever kind of works in with what you're doing. But the reason we do that is because when someone then comes into your funnel, we know that they're more qualified because they've already given us more information than just your standard contact information. Then what you want to do is set up automated sequences. So you can do this through tools such as like a CRM. And as Kurt mentioned before, it's about these proactive communications. So I'll give you some examples of what those proactive communications are. That you're going to put in front of people, so that they're building this relationship with you and they're building trust with you before you've even spoken to them. One thing is to have your process, send an email or a message, or have a video about your process. People like to know that there's a good process. Keep this to like 4 to 6 stages though. I'm sure your process is a lot more complicated than that, but it's a good, once you kind of get over 6, you lose people. You want to keep it to like 4 to 6, really key stages in your process. Another one is your unique selling point. So what makes you unique against your competitors? Like, is it the fact that you have cameras at your job sites. They can watch the progress of their project at any time. Is it the communication? Is it, there's so many unique selling points, and you should all know what they are. And then you should be communicating them all the time to people. Expectations, so setting expectations around cost and around time. So you can kind of eliminate those price checkers there. Case studies is obviously a great one. If you can get any of your existing clients in front of the camera, do that, because that's absolute gold. FAQs, so keep note of what people are asking you, and then start to answer those questions automatically through email sequences, so you're not constantly asking them all the time as well. And completed projects, obviously people love to see progress shots. They love to see the completed project. And that kind of will tie into the next slide in a second, which is more around the content side of things. But this means that by the time you talk to someone, they're going to know, like, and trust you. And as Kurt said, you can start to a lot more confidently charge for quotes and things like that, because they're happy to pay because they want to work with you. So summary, don't waste time on tire kickers. Use that time to build a system that's going to do all the relationship building for you. I did see a question pop up there, Kurt, but I can't see. I'm sorry. What does it say?
Yeah, let's see. Helena, there's one here. I already have a CRM capability in my job management software. Will that do
Yeah.
what you're teaching?
It depends what software it is. Generally, no is unfortunately the answer, and we sort of tend to see that you would have more of a sales and marketing CRM that sits kind of on top, that works with lead nurture and visibility, like lead source visibility. What you should be able to do though is then create an integration into your job management software so that it all flows together and you're not having to double handle or manually do that. There are capabilities, I know, to send out automated texts and emails and stuff in there. So you can set up nurture sequences, as far as I'm aware, in most of those. And that might be a good start, just to be doing something. Knowing that down the line, you may want to then invest in a CRM system that's got a bit more capabilities in a marketing sense.
Good stuff.
Again,
Okay.
AI is a great way to build out some of those email templates as well.
Yeah.
Like, get on there and start, getting it to write you some emails, and it's really, really powerful.
Writing those emails has become a lot easier with ChatGPT, hasn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but you need to have a bit of a tone of voice in there, otherwise it sounds way too. People are getting savvy now to what ChatGPT sounds like.
Yep.
And you can
Yep.
tell when something's written with ChatGPT. So make sure you upload your tone of voice document in there as well.
Oh, cool. All right. And tactic 6, showcasing your expertise to clients so they appreciate you more.
Oh, yes, very important. And that kind of, in a marketing sense, obviously surrounds your content, really. You could be the best builder, like, in the entire world, but if you're not showing people what you do, then no one knows. So builders that win bigger jobs have more authority. Authority comes from proof. So you need to prove to people that you are doing what you say you're going to do, and you're delivering, what you're presenting that you deliver. So at the end of the day, proof is everything, and you're going to get the proof from your content. I'll reel off a few ideas of things you can do to generate that proof through static images, videos, things like that. You can share stories, like progress stories when you're on job site. Before and after images and videos work really well. One thing that we're finding that trending at the moment is walkthroughs of completed homes with the furniture, so kind of lived in. I think Kurt has said this before, but the builders are so lucky that everyone loves houses and they love building. Like, it's a really engaging content. Like, it's not hard to do it's not hard to do a good job of it. You know, people just want to see inside the home and you know, have a look around. And so, you know, any walkthrough stuff is really good. Talk about problems that you've solved. And this is, again, where niching and layered niching is like really valuable, because then you can talk about problems. Say for example, you're a knockdown rebuild builder. So then you're going to be talking about problems in the knockdown rebuild space. So it's super relevant to people that are looking at knockdown rebuild. Whereas if you're talking about problems generically, you're not really talking specifically to someone. So yeah, like, you know, when you've got a really good niche, you can really tailor your content a lot better as well. Education is a great one. Positioning yourself as the expert. I see some builders doing like a great job of this. And founder-led content, like love it or not, is really valuable. So unfortunately, you may have to get in front of the camera. And finally, yeah, just all about building that trust and authority. And then where you're going to put that is obviously the obvious one is your socials, but you can also write articles, put blogs on your website. You can do webinars like this. You could do videos answering questions and have that on your website. So there's plenty of places to kind of be pushing that content out as well. And yeah, eventually just tying it all together, people are going to come to you because they want to work with you. And then not only will they pay higher margins, but they'll also pay, you know, they'll wait longer as well.
Fantastic. No, that's great, Helena. So look, I guess the key thing there is that if you really have the what Helena would call content assets in place, whereby you can, you know, be it the testimonials, the before and afters, all of the things that provide proof. What that does is it gives the potential or the prospect a really clear idea of what they can achieve when they work with you, but also it gives them some social proof, which is really crucial to help people make that connection about what you can offer them. So thank you for that, Helena. That's awesome. Good on you.
No worries.
Now I'm going to hand over now to Toby Loft from Built.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Kurt and Helena. I've got so many notes here. I'm like, this is, I'm learning plenty. So I guess if you look at margin within a business, one of the, I guess one of the levers you can pull that make the biggest result is cost of goods. So when you're looking at cost of goods, we're talking about trades and suppliers, we're talking about materials, and we're talking about manufactured products. Unfortunately, we still work in an industry where you pay for lack of capacity. So what I mean by that is if your trades and suppliers are busy, they're generally adding $5,000 to $7,000-8,000 to a job. So I guess as a bit of background to that, we at BuiltGrid, we're a procurement platform. So we are all the way from scope of project all the way through to purchase order. And we do see a lot of data. So if you look at the manufacturing sector in its sort of entirety, if you look at cabinet making, if you look at structural steel, if you look at frame and truss, what we see in the data is if a manufacturer is under 4 weeks, we see real consistency, 4 weeks call up or manufacturing time, we see real consistency in the pricing. The minute it gets over 4 weeks, we see a 15% increase in price. Now, that difference in capacity can actually be the difference, not just one, winning or not winning the work, but number two, actually making profit out of the project. So actually having access to a network of trades and suppliers is extremely important for your business. Now, you can do that many ways. You can do it through networking. You can at local events, those sorts of things. But having access to that network is number one, I guess, the number one thing for your business when you're looking at procurement and what projects look like. So I don't look at it and say sourcing better suppliers. I think the supply chain and the work delivered is all around your scope and what you do in that space. But it is about having a network that is aligned to the project, so you're getting the best possible result for you and then therefore your client. So that's, look, from a supply point of view, that's that slide there. So if you wanted to go to the next slide,
Toby,
Richard.
I'll just ask show
Yeah.
us quickly that QR code. Can you just tell us a little bit about what that's for? What that is?
Yeah, so that is, that just goes to a page. It's a little bit more about us. It shows you what builders are using us, what suppliers are using us, and you can book in some time to meet with myself or John, my business partner, to talk about how a BuiltGrid procurement process fits within your business. So the network has been built out over time based on builders that are using the system, and then their suppliers or suppliers of builders that actually have more capacity and want more work. And I think early days, we're in a space where there's a lot of builders that sort of go down the path of, oh, I don't want my supplier accessing more work and getting work from other builders. But our conversation is always about, okay, so if your supplier needs work, which right now they do, wouldn't you prefer them to be getting work from organised builders rather than going to Instagram and looking and searching for builders that potentially are disorganised? Because what we do know about projects is builders are generally held up because their suppliers are on a disorganised builder's site. So that then holds up your site. So but having that network and that capability to access it with a lower cost and lower effort is extremely important to your business.
Awesome. All right. Tactic 8.
So look, drive referrals and repeat clients. So I think what Kurt touched on earlier and Helena have become really important here. It is about specialising in an area and driving those referrals based on a great process. I think referrals don't come by accident. If you talk to many builders, they'll talk to you about they've done 3 projects in the same street. They generally got that referral while they're working on site, and it has come from the customer going, this is a great process, this is a great system, and this builder's delivering a great result. So if I look at many builders' websites, they all have, this is our process, and it might be 5 steps, it might be 10 steps, it might be the 12 steps. But our experience, and there's over 700 builders using BuiltGrid today, and we've met with many of them and talked to them about their process and what their system looks like. And a lot of the times what is on their website doesn't reflect what's internally. And when you're in that internal process, you can waste a lot of time and a lot of money on who's doing what systems we're using and how things progress. If you don't have that right, you're leaving a referral to chance. So what we do with a lot of builders is work on what their internal process looks like. So that is about, okay, what systems are you using, who does what, and then ultimately what the end result looks like, or what the customer expects. And part of that is actually writing into that at the end of it, we're going to come back to you, we're going to take photos of the site, we'd like a Google review or rating based on this, and being honest and transparent up front provides you a differentiation between you and other builders. If you're explaining to that homeowner that this is our process, these are the tools we use, and at the end of it, and this is the time frame it's going to take, you do become that expert. You do become that person they can lean on, that they go, you know what, I've got full trust of this, and what my project's going to look like. So we always talk about, don't leave this to chance. Make sure you've got a very robust process, who's doing what, and then ultimately communicating that to your customer. So that transparency will really drive those referrals and repeat clients.
Good stuff. Okay, number 9.
Yeah, so the last one, and I think, I don't know about smarter tech options. Well, I obviously get to talk about all of them, but again, we meet with many builders, and there's plenty of tech options out there. And if you talk about a volume builder building 2,500 homes a year, all the way through to custom home builders building 1-5 projects a year, there's no one system that does everything. If you look at today's meeting and today's conversation, you've got a lead gen nurture program at the front that links into CRM. You've got a qualifying tool in ProCalc, which saves huge amounts of time and money for your business, and actually helps move the customer through the chain. BuiltGrid is a procurement app. You throw in there a construction management app that helps with estimating, etc. There you've got 4 systems. But if you put yourselves in the builder's shoes and the work they do on a job site, you're always talking about using the right tool for the right job. You'll joke that an electrician will use a pair of pliers for everything. A builder will use a nail gun for everything, but the reality is using the right tool actually saves time and therefore money. So the process we spoke about earlier, for me, it is about understanding, okay, this is what we do as a business, and this is who does what, and these are the systems we use. If you put that documentation into your business up front and you talk about constantly talking to the customer about it and internally about it, as a business, you can scale quite quickly. And you know that this is the step we're at today, this is the step of this lead tomorrow, and then this person then takes over and does this. So as you're looking to scale, you actually just look at what needs to be done and actually go and hire the resource for that purpose. And you've already got the documentation there to actually bring them on board and help your business move forward without any hiccups, etc.
Good stuff, mate. Now we've got a few questions in here for you, mate. So Andy H is asking, Toby, how do I know they are trusted suppliers?
So supply, yeah, look, I think we do a lot around identifying suppliers, who they are. Well, the first thing they do when they actually want more work is let's start this. A builder works with their suppliers. You create a network of your own. You can work within that network. You don't have to go outside it. They're your suppliers. It's only when they want more work or have capacity do they add their ABN. We then do an ABN check. We'll generally talk to the builder that's added them to the system to understand the quality of work they do, those sorts of things. And then the builder gets to rate them as they start doing projects. So if they do other jobs, the builder can rate them around the quality, responsiveness, all those sorts of things. So from a supplier's point of view, we haven't had to kick one off yet. So that's been a positive, but there's definitely been some great relationships created from what we do and how we connect builder projects to the supply chain.
Yeah, good stuff. And another question here from Matthew Pace from Pace Built. I have a referral program, 1% of the signed contract value for who has referred me. I've only implemented it in the last 6 months and have won 4 jobs in it thus far.
That's fantastic. I think, yeah, I think a referral system like that, and you would have been upfront with them at the start and saying, hey, this is our process, this is what it looks like, and if, then this is the opportunity. I think, look, that goes back to the marketing, and Helena touched on earlier. You should always have some sort of funding in there for marketing, and that can be done a number of different ways. And a referral program like that is definitely working for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And a third question here: how much does BuiltGrid cost?
Yeah, look, I think the interesting piece is in this builder market, there is a lot of tools you can use and a lot of subscriptions, and as things evolve and the market moves up and down, you're always looking at it and going, okay, how much value does this provide? Do I continue my subscription? Well, look, the good news is BuiltGrid as a procurement app is free. My background in, I guess, Mitre 10 Australia, we determined that we didn't want to charge the builder. We actually charged the supply chain for accessing more work. That cost of securing new work is far greater than what we charge. So yeah, look, we're free to the builder, free to your trades and suppliers. It's only when they want more work there is a subscription option for them.
Got it. Okay, good stuff. All right, that's awesome, Toby. Thanks, mate. That's really good. Oh, hang on, we've got one more question here. From Matthew Pace. Can you specify niche trades on BuiltGrid? That is, I am going to aim to work on passive houses, so need to have some sort of knowledge or willingness to learn.
Yep, 100%. So like Kurt was talking earlier, builders should specialize. We're also seeing in that in the supply space. So the system allows for generalized work. So as an example, insulation, you can say, yes, I want wall wrap, I want this, I want this. In insulation, there's also a tick to say this is a passive home. So only those suppliers that do that work actually get that information. Further to that, there's security for job sites. There's specialization in automation, so single jobs versus the electrician doing the whole lot. Yeah, so we definitely support specialization because that's the way we see the industry going.
Good stuff. That's awesome, mate. Thank you. Well done. That's really helpful. So that's good. And now we're just onto the home stretch. So look, basically with the last three slides, I'll be covering off myself. What we did, I mean, as I mentioned earlier at the start of the webinar, we've done quite a bit of research with the way that builders engage with prospects and how much time they waste on unsuccessful quotes. So what we've found, and this is as a result of hundreds and hundreds of builders answering some very specific questions that we ask. And what we've found on this bar chart here, you can see that 7% of builders basically waste 1 to 4 weeks of their year on unsuccessful quotes. Now that's not too bad, but the scary bit is that when you start looking at all those others on that chart there, you'll see that there are some huge time wastage, particularly up, up towards the right hand end there. So there are some builders that are wasting 40 plus weeks a year. And for those who are wondering how you can waste 40 plus weeks a year on quoting, that often comes from when if a builder has for example, an in-house estimator, and they use that estimator to go ahead and develop a fully costed project for the client, and then the client says, "Oh no, don't want it, I'm not going to go ahead." They basically opt out. So there are some very, very expensive things that play out in that. So on the bottom left-hand corner there, we haven't sort of got time to go into to do a deep dive on this, but what I will get you to do is if you scan that QR code, you can actually do a free quote analysis with your current quoting system. So what happens, it takes about 2 minutes. Go ahead, scan that, put in the details, and then what happens is it actually produces a report for you about how many weeks you're wasting currently as a builder, but it also offers tips for you to fix those. So the idea of this is we want to set it up so that everyone on this call is able to move from anywhere on here up to this end here. Because really, what you don't want to be in a situation whereby you're pushing out quotes to people only, after having spent weeks on them, only to discover that they can't afford it or they were never going to be a client. So do scan that QR code. It will step you through how to test or analyze your quoting efficiency. But as well as that, it will also give you basically 10 recommendations to actually optimize the quoting efficiency there as well. So that's a really key thing, because what it's doing is it's making sure that you're then charging the right money for the right job. All right, next one is basically applying healthy and job appropriate margins and avoiding guesswork. So you'll see that there are two photos here. One's of like a volume build and a new housing estate. The next one's basically a renovation builder doing his own thing. So that in a regional area, a volume builder might only be charging a 13% margin, whereas a specialist renovation builder, they might be charging at least a 25% margin, some of them as much as 33% margin. So it's really important that when you're actually doing the comparisons between jobs and markets and what you do, that you apply the correct margin. But as well as that, you also need to make sure that you're inserting the correct costs, for project management, for site setup, for risk, for all of those aspects that need to be factored into your costs. So one of the things that we often see is that builders don't talk with one another about the way that they price jobs. It's for whatever reason, historically, it's never been a territory that builders go into. What you can do though is if you're wanting to check your pricing against the construction cost range in your area. There's actually a QR code there where you can check your pricing, and typically what we find is that at least 50 to 60% of builders are probably charging a little bit less than they should. But there's a tool there where you can actually go through, compare a job that you've already costed, put it through the system, and then we actually generate a comparable cost for that. So you can actually test your your pricing versus the market pricing. So that's a tool that you can use there. Finally, the last slide there, just talking about becoming the preferred builder, and Helena and Kurt, and in fact Toby as well, all touched on this. It's about growing trust with clients. So in other words, clients are prepared to spend more with you if they trust you. But trust, I heard a great analogy the other day. Trust is a little bit like a 3-meter high brick wall, and that is that you can't just expect that someone is going to trust you completely from the beginning. So if you've got to get yourself over a 3-meter high brick wall, you can do it in one of two ways. You can do it using a pole vaulter or a pole vault, or you can actually push some steps up to it and then climb up to it. So what I'm saying here is that if you want to go ahead and build trust with clients and become their preferred builder, their trusted expert, you need to give them steps that they can go through. So the first step might be simply calling them back at the time that you said you were going to call them back. The second one might be sending out that email that you promised you'd send them. The third one might be showing up to that meeting on time. So there's small steps, but this is the way the humans grow trust, is that they're just these steps. The next one is that you might charge them for a ProCalc report, or the next one after that is you might charge them to go and spend some time on site. The next one after that is that you might charge them to do some preliminary analysis or preliminary works. So what you're basically doing with growing trust with clients is that you are just giving them these small steps that they can grow through. And what that means is that fundamentally, as soon as a client starts giving you a little bit of money, even if it's only $100, what that's doing is it's really helping them shift their thinking from, oh, here's this builder that we're talking to that we might talk to, who here's our builder that we have engaged. Okay, now it's a subtle thing, but it's really important, because if you're able to build these trust steps with them and deliver all the way through, when it comes to climbing that 3-meter wall, which is actually the construction contract, you've got yourself in the box seat. So that's really the key thing there. So at the end of the day, what you're wanting to do is always make sure that you're able to go ahead and deliver those trust steps for clients to do that. There's a question here. Do I have a list or template of steps to build trust with clients? We have got let's see, we've got an article on our website. What I'll get you to do, if you want us to send you a copy of that article, put your email in the chat box here, and we'll send that out to you. In fact, maybe a better way is we'll actually send it out after the webinar, and we'll send that out with the recording so that you've got that, so that everybody's got it. So look, folks, that's basically the 12 steps. And look, what I'd sort of suggest is that for everybody on the call, even if you've just come up with one or two things that you like that will optimize your pricing, then it's been time well spent. There will be some things in this session that were more complex and more difficult for you to implement. There are other things that are easier to implement. So what I would ask you to do is just note down at least one or two things, preferably more, but at least one or two, whereby you're actually able to go ahead and say, right, these are the things that we can implement in our business in the coming weeks that are really going to help us grow our margins. And even if you only pick out one or two of them, one or two of those is enough to help you move those prices up. So keep in mind a 5% increase in your pricing is a massive impact on your bottom line for your profit. The other thing is, I'd encourage you to reach out to Helena, Toby, Kurt, or myself. For myself, you can reach out to me at richard@procalc.com.au. Helena, what's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Sorry, I just muted myself.
No worries.
The best way would be to just head to our website and you can book in a time to call with me, like book a call with me through there. That's at thearrowagency.com.au. If you just head to the contact page and we can, have a chat, it'd be great.
Awesome. Good on you. And Toby, what's the best way for people to find out more about you guys?
Yeah, definitely that QR code. They can scan that and it'll take you to a page to book a meeting, and it'll be with myself. Or look, toby.loft@builtgrid.com. So either way.
Beautiful. No, that's great. And Kurt, what's the best way to reach out to you, mate? You there? No. All right. So if you just Google
gone.
Builders Coach, and Kurt will have some contact details on his websites there. So that's all fine. But look, at the end of the day, what we're wanting to do is just set it up so that you can grow your pricing with confidence. And I hope that the steps that we've outlined here will absolutely do that. The fundamental thing is that we all want to escape that race to the bottom, because it's not what we want to do. You didn't become a builder so that you could, find yourself in financial dire straits, halfway through your business career. You really want to be in a situation whereby you've got a happy, healthy business that you find nourishing. Because if you're working in a business that's not nourishing you'll finish up, making it tough for yourself further down the track. Now, there are a few other. We're actually just up to questions now, and there are a few other chats here in the box. Oh yeah, thanks, Helena. So you've put in your details there at the Arrow Agency, so that's great. And Matthew Pace, thanks for your team. Good to have you on, Matthew. That's great. Folks, are there any other questions that we wanted to cover off just before we wrap up? So I think we've probably covered some really good territory there.
I was going to add, if you don't mind, Richard, something that I was thinking about it after I answered the question about the difference between, a sales and marketing CRM, and how sort of Toby mentioned about having a different tool for the different jobs.
Yeah, it's a good analogy, isn't it?
Yeah, I did love that. I'll be using that one. Sorry, Toby. But one thing I did want to mention as well, another reason why it's good to be having a specific sales CRM is because you can track the source and analyze the data from your marketing, which is really important. And this kind of goes, this should be sort of happening in all areas of your business, but every decision you make and every dollar you spend, you need to be making sure that it's data backed. So for example, if you've got all of your leads and inquiries coming through into one place and you're tracking the source of those, because you can do, it's Big Brother now, you can pretty much just track everything, unfortunately. You can start to build up a bit of a foundation of, where did those leads come from? The ones that are converting best, were they from a particular source? Even you can track to the point of like, what was the person searching on Google to kind of come into that pipeline. And then once you've been doing that for a while, you can start to make some really good data backed decisions based on what you're seeing in that. And then your dollar starts to go further and further and further, and you start to become more and more and more efficient with your targeting. So it's really something that I would definitely recommend as well.
Good stuff. That's great. And look, folks, if you have got questions, please do reach out to people, because it's raising your prices is not an easy thing to do. It's fraught with risk, and I think Kurt touched on this earlier. But if you don't have a strategy about the way you're going to do it, then it does make it really hard, because you can't just wake up in the morning and go, oh, I'm going to put my prices up by 20%, because it will cause you to lose those jobs. So please do reach out. And yeah, folks, thank you for being on the call, and special thanks to Helena, Toby, and Kurt for your expertise. I really appreciate it.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Good on you guys. Thank you. Bye for now.
Bye.